Hi, this is Teacher Jennifer from US Citizenship Podcast, here with our fourth screencast about submitting your application for naturalization through the USCIS. The first screencast was about creating your USCIS account. The second screencast was about your eligibility. Your third screencast was the first part of the N-400, what we would know as sections 1 through 10, and also questions about did someone assist you with completion of your N-400, your interpreter or legal representative. Now we're at the moral character section known as the part 12 of the N-400. Here, they're going to ask you the following, it's broken down into the following sections. Citizenship claims and votings. Have you ever claimed to be a American citizen? Have you ever registered to vote? Etc., etc. Before we begin, again, if any part of the question applies to you or has ever applied to you, you must answer yes. Your answers, whether yes or no, will not automatically cause your application to be denied. And if you happen to answer yes, there is a section for you to explain this. So again, once again, my students know as soon as I ask this question, have you ever claimed to be a U.S. citizen in writing or in any other way? No, they know that they're on their way towards the culmination of this interview. They're going to be asking about claims about voting. Have you ever registered to vote or have you ever voted in the United States? They're going to ask about legal competence. Have you ever, have you ever been declared legally incompetent or confined to a mental institution? No. They're going to ask about, party or group affiliation. So they're going to ask you about have you been associated with any organizations in the United States or in any parts of the world. They're going to ask you, have you ever been a member of, next they're going to ask you, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party, or have you ever been a member of a totalitarian party, or have you ever been a member of a terrorist organization? Hopefully, especially the terrorist organization, you're going to say no to all these. They're going to, as you continue on, they're going to ask you, especially with the organizations, let's go down again. Next. They're going to start asking about war crimes. So have you ever advocated the overthrow of government by force or violence? Have you ever persecuted anyone? They're going to start getting into more of the serious war crimes. Have you ever been involved with genocide? Have you been ever involved with torture? Were you ever involved with killing or trying to kill someone? Were you ever involved with badly hurting or trying to hurt a person on purpose? Were you ever involved in any way or forcing or trying to force someone to have any kind of sexual contact or relations with you? Have you ever been involved in any way with not letting someone practice his or her religion? Very serious crimes. Again, they're going to ask about your involvement in military units or paramilitary units or a police unit, self-defense unit. They're going to ask you if you were involved with a, screen jumped, self-defense unit or a vigilante group. Next. They're going to ask you if you were involved with a rebel group or any illegal groups such as that, a guerrilla group, uh, um, insurgent group, those kind of things. Have you ever served in a jail or prison? So these are questions about labor camps or detention facilities, basically places where people were forced to stay and cannot leave. The next one is they're going to ask if you were ever part of a group that used weapons against a person or threatened to do so, something like a gang. Have you ever, did you ever sell or give or provide weapons to a person or try to provide weapons to them? No. Did you ever receive any military or paramilitary training? And a lot of our students actually have because they were part of the military in their country. So you can say yes and feel confident that you can explain that. If you happen to say yes, you can say, I was part of a student ROTC group in, oops, in Italy. So what happened there? I'm sorry about that. It's going to go, oh, I don't want to be incognito. Sorry. What is happening here is when you say yes, it's going to, this little comment box is going to pop up. And there you can immediately put your explanation. Okay. Did you ever try to force a child under 15 years old to participate in combat? And no, I would say no. Now, there's things in here about crimes and offenses. And before we start, if there's any question that applies on this, any of these questions that apply to you, you must answer yes, even if your records have been sealed, expunged, or otherwise cleared. You must disclose this information even if anyone, including a judge, a law enforcement officer, or attorney told you that it no longer constitutes a record or told you that you do not have to disclose this information. So again, please be very careful in this section. If you have any questions, again, contact a lawyer. Here, have you ever committed or assisted in committing a crime or offense for which you are not arrested? Have you ever been arrested, cited, or detained by a law enforcement officer? Have you ever been convicted of a crime or offense? Have you ever been placed in an alternative sentencing or rehabilitative program? Or have you ever received placed on probation or parole or received a suspended uh, sentence? Have you ever been in jail or prison? Again, they're going to be continuing with the questions about crimes. Have you ever been a habitual drunkard? Have you ever been a prostitute or procured anyone for prostitution? Have you ever sold or smuggled or controlled substances, illegal drugs, or narcotics? Have you ever been married to more than one person at the same time? Have you ever been married to someone in order to obtain immigration benefit? Have you ever helped anyone enter the United States or try to enter the United States illegally? Have you ever gambled illegally? Have you ever have you ever failed to support your dependents or pay alimony? Have you ever made any misrepresentation to obtain any public benefit in the United States? Next part. Have you ever given the U.S. government any officials any information or documentation that was false, fraudulent, misleading? Have you ever lied to the U.S. government to gain admission to the United States or immigration benefits? Again, these are all the questions that are normally on the paper USCIS N-400. Have you ever been removed, excluded, or deported from the United States? Have you ever been ordered or removed or excluded or deported from the United States? Have you ever been placed in removal, exclusion, rescission, or deportation proceedings? Are all the removal, exclusion, rescission, or deportation proceedings currently, are there any proceedings currently pending against you? Next, you're getting closer and closer to those questions about supporting the Constitution. This one is about military service. Have you ever been court-martialed? Have you ever been discharged from the U.S. Armed Forces? Earlier, we saw a question about selective service. Here we have the question again about, about leaving the United States to avoid being drafted into the U.S. Army. Have you applied for any exemption from the military service? Have you ever deserted or run away from the U.S. Armed Forces? Now, again, you're getting closer to that question about supporting the Constitution. And here it is. You're almost in sight. Do you support the Constitution and the form of government of the United States? Yes. Next. Do you understand the full oath of allegiance to the United States? Yes. Are you willing to take the full oath of allegiance to the United States? Yes. Well, some people would actually might say no. They might have a religious exemption, and that's where you would put it. You might have to provide further evidence about that. Again, please consult with a lawyer. If the law requires it, are you willing to bear harms on behalf of the United States? Yes. If the law requires it, are you willing to perform non-combatant services for the United States, such as being a translator? Yes. So just once again, let's go over this information. Bear arms is to carry a weapon. Again, when you bear arms, there is a potential if you pick up a weapon that you may have to kill somebody. Of course, hopefully that will never happen. If you're performing non-combatant services in the U.S. Armed Forces, you are helping people that are protecting the United States. The law requires it. Are you willing to perform work of national importance under civilian direction? And this is always in the front of our mind in California, especially with the recent fires. And yesterday we had a small earthquake in Milpitas. So that is always in our front of our mind. And here we're coming very close to the end. As part of the naturalization process, you will need to provide evidence. And so we're going to have to submit evidence about the permanent resident card and any additional information that they're going to ask for here. I cannot submit this evidence right now, but again, my information that I have already prepared is going to, I can submit it at another time. Before I do this, again, I'm going to have to provide my A number, and so I cannot submit it at this time, but that's the only thing that's going to keep me from submitting it. So again, I'm almost ready to go. Need to put in that N4 that application, or sorry, my alien number, and very easy to do. Glad I was able to take this time, and hope that this year in 2018, new year, new citizen. Thanks for listening. I know you will be a great American citizen. Thank you so much. Bye bye.